Hi, it is another astrology video. I have regained my composure and I'll tell you why I had to do that in the first place. I'm in my car because there was construction work happening around my house, because when is there not? And it was so loud. But I had scheduled this video in for today and I had so many insights on it and I didn't want to wait to shoot it. And I also thought, okay, let me shoot it outdoors. And I went to another area where there's like an apartment complex and there was construction work happening over there too. And it was so ridiculously loud. And I was like, okay, let me go to another place. I go there and guess what's happening there too. So I was like, So then I asked my brother to like help me out by parking the car in a road where there's no noise so I can shoot this video in my car. So I'm like 2 roads away from my house right now so that I can shoot this video. So yeah, hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Saturn retrograding. I'm also going to be talking about Saturn's current retrograde position and its significance and what energies it brings about and how it's affecting me personally as well. My insights based on my experiences and generally what I see around me with other people as well. In order to be able to talk about Saturn's retrograding in this particular nakshatra's effects, I'm going to be touching upon what nakshatras are, what Tara Bala is, and then getting into Saturn retrograding and then getting into Saturn retrograding in Shatabishak. So buckle up, it's going to be a long video. I'm hopefully going to try to make it more concise and like get through all the concepts quickly. But yeah, you're going to learn a lot in this video. I know how I like touching upon astrology basics, but we're jumping into the deep end of the pool again. But over time, if you're on an astrology learning journey, these videos might come in handy in the future, or like if you already know about these concepts, it can help you as well. If you don't know about the things I'm trying to say, it's okay, just like try to grasp what you can, and some things might not make a lot of sense, but just bear with me. Like, we will try to make as much sense as we possibly can, because I know that I'm going to touch upon a lot of details and like, you know, like delving into things and the layers of things, and I know this video is going to be complicated. So yeah, I'm going to try to simplify it as much as possible. So first, let's talk about nakshatras. We have not touched upon nakshatras yet, but nakshatras are asterisms, and there are 27 nakshatras in the zodiac system, in the Vedic system. Yes, we have 12 zodiac signs, and within each of these zodiac signs there are segregations further into asterisms called nakshatras. Now each zodiac has 2.5 nakshatras. What I mean by this is each nakshatra is divided into 4 padas or 4 segregations. So and there are differences in the characteristics between these 4 as well. Like the overall general characteristics of the zodiacs are further dissected into differentiating characteristics within the zodiac between 2.5 nakshatras, and that's further categorized into padas under each nakshatra and how one pada differs from the other. So we have the grand chunk of someone's personality or emotional world, or depending on what planet we're talking. Let's think about the sun. Like, sun is personality. If the sun is in a zodiac sign, how that personality plays out is further condensed into its nakshatra, and that's further condensed into which pada nakshatra, and then other aspects. So like, basically nakshatras, you know how people find like their zodiac sign is very generic, and it's like, okay, but this could apply to anybody, outgoing, adventurous. So that means I'm Sagittarius. I have Gemini friends who's also outgoing, adventurous. So these things basically double down on more detailed characteristics about someone's personality or their emotional world, depending on what planet we're dealing with here. So nakshatras are all ruled by different planets. They're all, you know, ruled by different deities. There are stories, origin stories. It's so beautiful. There are 27 nakshatras, okay? In Vedic astrology, everyone's moon nakshatra is basically their nakshatra, like which nakshatra their moon falls in. Now your sun falls in a sign, falls in a nakshatra. For example, my sun is in Virgo, and within Virgo there is a nakshatra called Uttara Falguni. Now Virgo comprises of 3 nakshatras, which is Uttara Falguni, Hasta and Chitra. And then Libra is also 2 fragments of Chitra nakshatra. So Libra has, or Tula Rashi has, Chitra Nakshatra, Swati Nakshatra, and then Vishaka Nakshatra. Vishaka partially falls in Libra and then partially falls in Scorpio. So Scorpio has Vishaka Nakshatra, Anuradha Nakshatra, and Jeshta Nakshatra. So this is how we go through the nakshatras, and each of these nakshatras have different characteristics. Okay, so Shani right now is in Shatabishak. Like, it was in Purva Bhadrapada, but it retrograded back into Shatabishak. Okay, we'll come back to that later. Let me get into the Tara Bala system. Now, these 27 nakshatras are characterized into 9 different categories. Okay, I know it's getting complicated, but just stay with me. Okay, I'll try and explain and try to break it down. So there are 9 categories of nakshatras, and because there are 27 nakshatras, there are 3 nakshatras in each category for every nakshatra. And this differs from nakshatra to nakshatra. For example, my nakshatra is Revati, which is my Janmatara, category 1. Then after Revati, there's Ashwini, which is my Sampattara, category 2. Then there is Ashwini Bharini, which is my Vipattara, category 3. After Bharini, there's Kritika, that's my Kshematara, category 4. After Kritika, there's Rohini Pratyaktara, category 5. After Rohini, there is Mrigashira, which is my Sadak Tara, category 6. Then after Mrigashira, there is Ardra, falling in the sign of Gemini, which is my Vadatara, category 7. Then Punarvasu is my Mitratara, category 8. And then Pusha, which is my Ati Mitratara, category 9. Okay, each of these categories mean different things, as in the benefits of these nakshatras. And after Pushya, which is my Ati Mitratara, the cycle repeats. And then is Ashlesha, which is again my Janmatara. It's like my sibling star. Like it's like, every nakshatra has like a sibling, 2 more sibling stars. So Revati's would be Ashlesha and then Jeshta. So there's again the cycle repeats. Then Magha is Sampattara. Then after Magha, it's like Purafalguni, Vipattara. So it keeps repeating until the last and final star, which is Revati. Or the star before Revati is Uttarabhadra, is my last Atimitra Tara. So each of these categories, it's a mix between them bringing good results or bad results, or like being auspicious or not so auspicious. Okay, and I don't mean bad results, because for example, Vadataras basically mean death and destruction. Vad means death, but if you actually dissect and look at it, it brings about opportunities for transformation, and sometimes these transformations in your life can be turbulent. Okay, and it depends, like if there are transits over a Vadatara, like the moon transiting over a Vadatara, for example, that could be a challenging time in your life where your mental health is like suddenly not in your hands, or like things would happen, friendship breakups, or like fights, arguments, just like a project not panning out, working out, career issues. So like these taras that are your Vadataras, for example, the 3 taras, and if there are any transits over those taras or those nakshatras, Tara Nakshatra, same thing. Those bring out qualities of Vadatara energy. So similarly, if the moon is transiting through a Mitra Tara, for example, Mitra quite literally means friend. So there are 3 nakshatras that are your friend, that bring about the friend energy. Like those are compatible nakshatras with your nakshatra. Ati Mitra Tara is like best friend. Sadak Tara means like good for your spiritual progress, or like Shema Tara means good for your well-being. Or Vipattara means obstacles, and like Pratyaktara also means like destruction. So different taras have different compatibility with your personal moon sign, moon tara, moon nakshatra. Okay, this was a lot. Now I'm going to move on to Saturn retrograde. Now Saturn is currently retrograding in Shatabishak nakshatra. Shatabishak is a nakshatra that is about boundaries and about learning how to set boundaries or have a separation between the self and the other, and to know where you end and somebody else begins or something else begins. Basically, to have a discerning ability between the self and the connection to the self versus connection to others. Shatabishak has that energy of isolation and drawing boundaries, and it quite literally is represented by the symbol of a circle, which represents the internal versus the external, the self versus the other. Shatabishak falls in the sign of Aquarius, and Shatabishak for Revati, which is my Janmatara, is a Vadatara. Now, Shani has been transiting this star of Shatabishak since my 7.5 years of Shani started, or 7.5 years of Saturn started in 2023. Shatabishak brings about energies that force me to transform through a very destructive means, because it is my Vadatara. So it could be destructive to my mental health, or my life just gets uprooted. So Sari Sati will bring results based on which nakshatra Shani is transiting, whether he's transiting a Vadatara energy, because at the end of the day, it's about the effects these incidents are having on your mental health and your moon, right? Your mental well-being, your emotional world. And Vadatara energy and Saturn moving through the planet, a planet of lessons and karmic clearance, moving through a difficult star for you, basically will bring about those energies, right? Now, Saturn had gotten out of Shatabishak and he went into Purabhadra April this year, mid-April this year. And you will see that when Shani moves out of a difficult Tara position to a better Tara for your Janma Nakshatra, that he brings better results. He brings kind of relief. He brings hope. He brings clearance of those lessons so that you can move forward. But when he retrogrades back into a sign, or I mean, he retrogrades back into a nakshatra that was a difficult nakshatra for you, what you'll see with every Saturn retrograde is when Saturn retrogrades, he brings back the lessons that you were dealing with, brings back the situations that you were dealing with, sometimes with the same people that you were dealing with those situations with. The pattern repeats in a way where what you went through when Saturn was transiting, right now it's transiting, retrograding into the 18th degree of Aquarius. Last time he was in and around the 18th degree of Aquarius was March, right before, April, February, March, especially, he was in the 18th degree of Aquarius. So the issues you were dealing with then will be coming back into your life. The stuff that you learned, the lessons that you learned, Saturn will basically bring those lessons back so you can learn them at a deeper level and also discover layers to those learnings. And also, especially if you've not perfected your resolve to learn those lessons and you're not learning those lessons to the best of your ability, or like you just need some more ingraining of those lessons in your system, in your psyche, in your life, then Saturn will, when he retrogrades back, he brings those themes back up again. So that's the beauty of Saturn retrograde, a repetition of things that you already went through and dealt with, sometimes in the same exact way that they occurred. So if you dealt with a significant friendship breakup during a Saturn period that was supposed to bring about that karmic clearance in your life, and you guys reconciled, reconnected, and you know, like, were able to work through your issues, Saturn retrograding back to when that friendship breakup happened might just bring that same situation back into your life. The friendship breakup occurs again, or there's more misunderstanding, or the stuff that you worked through you were able to deal with for a while, and then those issues bubble up to the surface. So there's deeper work to do, or like more things to find out how to make that dynamic work, or to, like, you know, clear misunderstandings, or have deeper context, or like find different ways by which you can learn that lesson. Shani in Shatabishak can bring isolation. For me, he's also transiting the 8th house from my rising or my ascendant. So it's also a Sarisati with kind of like an Ashtama Shani, although they say Ashtama Shani is more 8th house from the moon. But yes, it is like from the Lagna as well. It's Ashtama, it's the 8th house of, like, you know, deeper connection to the self, things hidden from the self or hidden deep within the self, and occult practices, and turning to occult more, turning to astrology more, and relying heavily on things like astrology more, and, you know, just like deepening your connection to yourself, or like revealing things about you to you. That's a huge theme that I've been feeling in this 8th house transit in the nakshatra of Shatabishak. To deepen my relationship with myself, I've had to deal with isolation from who I've considered my support systems, and I've had to deal with like inner shadows that I had no idea that I was carrying or that existed, and all these, you know, secrets about my psyche and like what I think, all my beliefs, whether they're positive or negative, about the world around me, about life itself, about myself. My relationship to myself was really tried and tested, but also more than tried and tested, the lack of the relationship to the self, the solid foundation of the relationship to yourself that you need to have. You know, it's a very thin line between having, you know, healthy solitude and actually connecting to the self on a deep level. Those are, like, you know, not the same things. Like, you could be spending a lot of alone time doing a lot of productive things, you know, like having emotional regulation, but like the deep connection to yourself could be, you know, not really thriving. For example, like, you would not be able to bank on your, like, your inner child would not be able to bank on your adult self. And that's something I found during this transit. I was like, whoa, I need to reparent that, you know. And I had begun the journey of doing that somewhere between January this year to March, April. And then Saturn retrograded, first retrograded back to, like, you know, where he was in Purva Bhadra. So it's like Saturn does this beautiful thing. So like every time he retrogrades, not like, oh, just as when he enters Shatabishak, you know, things from that time just resurface. No, Saturn, if you notice, he'll lay the foundation first. Saturn's effects are always felt the weeks leading up to the peak of when its effects are supposed to be felt. So he'll lay the groundwork, the foundation. He'll create, like, for example, if it's that friendship breakup thing, he'll probably create like a couple of misunderstandings long before you can come back to the time where there was an actual separation between you and your friend. So the groundwork is being, you know, constructed by Saturn. As once he retrogrades, he starts that groundwork. And once you reach that place where he retrogrades to the place where you were dealing with certain challenges, those challenges are already being faced by you again. So this is an opportunity to relearn those lessons and perfect those lessons and see if there are any missing links or layers to, actually imbibing those lessons in your life. For me, it was like I learned how to meet my needs, and I learned how to understand myself better, and I learned what I had to do. But then I also now have to realize how to self-soothe more, and like how to not outsource taking care of myself to the people I'm connected to. And there was just more, like, it was very easy for me to fall back into patterns of depending on other people to feel better, emotionally speaking, instead of being able to bank on myself and rely on myself 100%. Like, I knew how to make myself feel better compared to the last time with respect to meeting my own needs versus, like, depending on other people for those needs to be met. But at the same time, my connection with myself wasn't solidified to the point where I felt secure enough, to be able to go through challenges without feeling like, oh no, things are gonna go haywire again. Basically, there was more inner work and shadow work required of me, and there were more layers to building a deeper, stronger self connection. Not just like, like I learned something in theory, I applied it for a few months, and then I fell back into the same patterns. And Saturn was like, nope, nope, you learned to do this and you have to continue to practice doing this. So like, he does things where he makes you confront the exact same pattern. So always notice Saturn retrogrades between June, July-ish till November, December-ish is when Saturn retrogrades every year. So you will notice the stuff you were dealing with when Saturn was in that placement. When he retrogrades, you will notice that you were dealing with the same stuff. Like if you were dealing with a certain financial issue during Saturn being in a certain degree, and when he retrogrades back into that degree, even though that financial issue got solved, it might become an issue again. Like Saturn repeats lessons so that you can find perfection and purification and like actually truly finish the karmic dues around that lesson, and allow that lesson to assimilate into your subconscious mind and your reality in the way you lead your life and the way you process your life. So Saturn retrograding is an opportunity for us to look at where we have loose ends with respect to the lessons we learned last time. Did we just get through it? Did we just go through it and come to an understanding, but we went back to old ways? Or like, did we learn it to a certain extent but were not able to perfect it? And is this the opportunity to perfect it in a way where, okay, this is the lesson of transformation that I need? Think about what energy Saturn is bringing. And sometimes, Saturn retrograding, he deliberately, I've seen this with my own eyes, it's like, even if you know better, sometimes if you have to go through an experience to solidify knowing better experientially, like you can't just know it in theory. Like you need to know what it feels like and what relapsing feels like, or like what like not learning a lesson completely feels like, the effects of not learning that lesson feels like. He needs to make you go through it. So even if you could try to avoid Saturn's effects when he retrogrades, it's not like he hijacks. I've seen planetary influences hijack your ability to do anything about it. Like I've seen personally planetary influences hijacking your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And if the planetary energies are off, your mind is susceptible to react. Like you can't control that. Sometimes they make sure some things play out so that you can be put in a place to confront yourself or confront the lessons you've not learned. And it can be scary because like there's no say beyond the planets. Even like my spiritual Gurudev, he says like when time is good, like even the worst enemies will become your best friends. When time is bad, even your best friends will become your worst enemies. And that's the play of time. So some things you just cannot avoid. It's not in your hands. So like don't beat yourself up if you've not perfected learning a lesson. It takes time. Saturn takes 30 years to go through all the 12 signs. Yeah. And Sun takes 365 days. So perfect learning your lessons and forgive yourself if you're under the influence of Saturn in a way where you have no say about it. Okay. What can help you be more in control when there are such strong planetary influences that are destined to bring karmic clearance is meditate as much as you can. So even if you have to go through adversity, at least you will have the ability to rise above it experientially, and to have a sense of calm and collectedness. Throw yourself back into learning those lessons. It's hard, but it's like, oh my god, I just went through this, I got out of this, why is this repeating in my life again? For a reason. Okay, because there are lessons tied to that we've not learned and perfected. Throw yourself back into what helped you at the time where you're going through it last time around, and just try to keep your spiritual practices continuous, because it is only from a space of meditation or that meditative state that we can transcend the effects of planets on our minds and bodies. Like, we might be going through suffering because of external circumstances that are created due to planetary influences, but we can find peace and calm even through adversity in our spiritual practice, in our connection to the divine. So Saturn might be putting you through shit. I know he is for me. The lessons are repeating. It's the same feelings of like helplessness, isolation, etc., etc. But this time around, I feel more strong to go through it. It's equally difficult and unbearable, but at the same time, I have more insight and awareness as to how to move through it, what I can do, what's in my control versus what's not in my control, and how I can turn this into the solidification of a lesson for me. So for those of you who are going through, I'm sorry, I just parted my hair. For those of you who are going through your Sadi Satis or Ashtama Shanis, Shatabishak would have been a nakshatra that brought in themes of isolation or losing people, or like confronting yourself and like your boundaries, especially you versus them, and all of that might be a thing, like energy, what you let in, what you don't let in. And as a Revati nakshatra, my boundaries are blurred metaphysically, spiritually, and emotionally most of the time, and it's been a theme throughout my life, so like energetically as well. So learning those lessons were very, very 8th house placements, 8th Vadatara energy or 8th house placements, they always bring about like transformation through the most incompatible to your true nature means. Like stuff that doesn't come naturally to you, you will have to like confront and like go through and see, and then transform and then imbibe those qualities that you don't naturally carry, and learn how to set boundaries, learn how to show up for yourself, learn how to develop a deeper connection to yourself in a way where there is a sense of the self versus the other, instead of just assimilation into everything that there is and belonging everywhere without truly belonging to yourself. That is my biggest lesson from this particular transit. So Shatabishak brings that kind of energy. If you're feeling the effects of this retrograde, Shani stops, Saturn stops retrograding on November 15th, 15th, yeah. 16th onwards, he's going direct, and Shani will transition out of Shatabishak 27 December 2024. And for those of you for whom Shatabishak is a hectic nakshatra, the next nakshatra would be better for you, and it'll be better. Things are going to be fine after 27 December, and you're going to be able to find your footing again in life. But yeah, happy retrograding. Stay strong, stay positive, show up for yourself, and I don't know. Yeah, we covered a lot today. I'm just gonna let you guys like take whatever is getting absorbed, and whatever didn't make sense, it's okay. Just let it go out the window. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the post notification so we can stay connected, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.